12. Before this debate begins, keep in mind the words from Marsh and Willis. Making decisions about curriculum includes considering what the curriculum should be, how it can be enacted in the classroom, and how students might experience it. There's no one correct way to plan curriculum because making decisions about curriculum entails certain individuals or groups defining what is desirable and attempting to realize what is achievable in diverse human lives. Here to debate these approaches are the theorists themselves, Ralph Tyler and Elliot Eisner. Both debaters will have the opportunity to cross-examine each other's points after their initial speech. We'll be starting this debate with Tyler.
I have been molding theory and practices in education for decades now, since 1930. As I have mentioned in my work, curriculum planning is a practical enterprise, not a theoretical study. It endeavors to design a system to achieve an educational end and is not primarily attempting to explain an existential phenomenon. I hold to the fact that curriculum must be organized, and thus is my approach. In my opinion, there are 4 questions that curriculum makers must ask. The first question being, what educational purpose should the school seek to attain? I believe that there are 3 sources of knowledge that are pertinent in answering this question: learners, contemporary society, and subject specialists. As I have stated, no single source of information is adequate to provide a basis for wise and comprehensive decisions about the objectives of the school. Number 2, how can learning experiences be selected that are likely to be useful in attaining these objectives? Learning experiences must be chosen in order to provide sufficient opportunity for students to experience and successfully complete the tasks required of them. Question number 3 that you must ask yourself: how can learning experiences be organized for effective instruction? Learning experiences should be organized for the same general reason that it was selected in the first place, as a means for students to meet certain ends: the product. Question 4 that you must ask yourself: how can the effectiveness of learning experiences be evaluated? Here we determine the degree of fit between the results specified in the objectives and the results actually achieved, keeping in mind that there is still a need to evaluate students throughout a unit, not just at the end. These questions should be posed in this order, this giving the explanation as to why my approach is called rational linear. Smith agrees that this approach that I have created towards curriculum theory is systematic and has considerable organizing power. There is order which can help put curriculum developers at ease when creating their curriculum. It allows them to be in control and be able to handle what comes next. There are no surprises in this rationale. Works in other theories, such as Taba's, have been built around my linear approach. She reflects my technical ends-means rationality, yet she makes it descriptive and prescriptive, emphasizing the student's inductive thinking. Structural approaches can be beneficial. As Marsh and Willis helped me state, my rationale is primarily a way to simplify complex situations sufficiently so that plans and procedures can be carried out rationally. That is, in ways that people engaged in the process can understand and, at least potentially, reach agreement about it.
Thank you, Tyler. And now for the opposition's statements or questions. Eisner? First, you state that there are 3 sources of knowledge that you see as pertinent to answering your first question. How is this feasible that you can combine these 3 sources in a consistent manner if they might all represent differing priorities?
Through the use of objectives, which I know from your work that you do not find of interest. By finding desirable objectives and putting them in context of philosophy and psychology, it is possible to sieve out the objectives that are necessary.
Furthermore, when you state that learners should be considered what the school should seek to attain, you are talking about the students as a group, and not as individuals, correct? This brings us to the idea that everyone should meet the same standards in standardized testing. As many of you have seen in the Pink Floyd video, Another Brick in the Wall, treating children all the same from standardized testing puts them on one or two tracks, success or fail, without finding out what they really know. Keeping that visual in mind, is that what you would want for your students, to make school and education into a factory-like system? We know that Tyler is an ends means man. He uses scientific testing as a product. Tyler mentions his approval from Smith, but Smith has observed that education is most often seen as a technical exercise. Objectives are set, a plan drawn up, then applied, and the outcomes or project is measured. Students in this approach are given little to no voice. They are not given a choice when they are told what to learn and how they must learn it. This will force limits upon them where they might have otherwise learned more.
Students as a whole make it easier to obtain data. Scientific testing is a way to measure progress as a whole. I am not limited to paper and pencil tests. There are other techniques that I have used along with testing, such as observations, interviews, questionnaires, and samples of students' works, and in my time, this was thought to be very innovative. Yet, overall, I value data obtained as a whole over data obtained informally. As my dear friend Kronbach has mentioned, I pretty much invented the concept of formative evaluations. And I stand by them. I strongly hold that evaluations be both valid and reliable. You must remember and take into consideration the era in which I was creating my approach.
Finally, Tyler mentions the use of subject specialists. I am against the use of academic specialists and support the use of teachers. Supporting some of my views is my friend Dewey when he stated every teacher should have at his or her fingertips a mastery of the subject under consideration. Correlating with my view, it stated in Marsh and Willis that although academic specialists may know their subject matter well, it is curriculum planners and teachers who have their responsibility of transforming the content into forms that are appropriate for students. Shouldn't the teacher themselves be the specialists?
As for the subject specialists, I look to find contributions from subject specialists that otherwise may have been overlooked. I mean, they are in fact specialists, right?
Thank you for your valuable information, gentlemen. And now for Eisner's speech. With my background in art education curriculum, I came up with a qualitative artistic approach to education as opposed to Tyler's quantitative. As Marsh and Willis have quoted me, I believe we need a theory that unapologetically recognizes the artistry of teaching and that is useful in helping teachers develop those arts. I believe that the study of education need is not a new orthodox, but rather a variety of new assumptions and methods that will help us appreciate the richness of educational practice. The steps in my artistic approach are 1. Goals and their priorities. Subjects should not be given lower or higher priority simply because they are stated or not stated in the objectives. As advocated by Schwab, I agree and believe that the art of deliberation is the key in coming up with a consensus on curriculum priorities. 2. Content of the curriculum. Like Tyler, I see the need for curriculum developers to draw from 3 sources, my sources being individuals, society, and subject matter. Curriculum should not be selected simply because it is tradition. There is no excuse for it. This leads to important content being excluded. 3. Types of learning opportunities. What I really want to convey here is that to make gold, educational imagination must transform goals and content into high-quality experiences for students. We must create varied, meaningful, and satisfying learning opportunities for our students. 4. Organization of learning opportunities. This task is similar to a spider web. One must be fully engaged in order to link all the thread. I believe in diverse outcomes and experiences. Yes, a traditional linear approach has its benefits, but those approaches are oversimplifications. 5. Organization of content areas. With no surprise from all of you, I continue with my belief that there are multiple ways in which to organize content area and all should be explored. Number 6. Mode of presentation and mode of response. I am, and always will be, a firm believer that written word is not the only means to gauge out how much an individual knows. Marsh and Willis helped me say it best that teachers who do not use diverse modes of communication in presenting the curriculum are in effect denying students educational opportunities to develop diverse modes of response. And number 7, types of evaluation procedures. Evaluation is throughout the learning experience, perceiving, valuing, and portraying. My process is open-ended. My steps can be taken in any order and can even be retaken as long as the process is one with the end. Thank you, Eisner. Any final comments or questions, Tyler?
Your steps seem to reflect the steps that I advocate for at first glance. In some ways, we are similar. My steps are based on logic, clean-cut logic. The curriculum has the sole purpose of teaching the objectives that we have set with clear instruction. So with this in mind, how do you intend all the students to meet your goals and priorities?
Regarding your comment about my steps reflecting yours, my underlying rationality and the practical emphasis are dramatically different, especially my evaluation procedures. Yes, you believe your 4 steps have covered everything sequentially in curriculum development. My steps cover just some of the many different planes of curriculum and can be discovered in any order. My approach demands most important decisions about curriculum must be made in the classrooms by the people most influential in portraying it, the teachers. They enact the curriculum and observe the students' experience of it. They are going to be the ones that are going to make sure the goals and priorities are met. And it is not always possible nor desirable to have too specific of objectives in curriculum.
Also, I'm curious, how do you intend to make clear evaluations? Your system has so many opportunities for variation that this might get tricky for you, sir.
As for evaluation, I believe that it is present throughout the curriculum. Finally, evaluation is fundamentally the same natural process in which people consistently engage in attempting to make sense of the world around them and their own lives. Evaluation cannot be reduced to a simple method such as testing.
Well, there you have it, words from both theories themselves. I thank you both for your insightful ideas and for your valuable time. Tune in next week for more educational theory fun. This production has been brought to you by Blair Talley, Joshua Walker, and Laura Hernandez.